Not every game has to be the best game you've ever played. Sometimes it's great to just turn off your brain, pick up a controller, and have some fun. I'd never played a Ratchet & Clank game until now, and the experience I found was simple, polished, safe, and pretty fun. Welcome to completion number 24 of the Potato Backlog Project. Make sure you stick around to the end of the video for the nefarious Tater Raider, and let's talk about 2016's Ratchet & Clank. Dubbed on the back of the box itself as the game based on the movie based on the game, Ratchet & Clank 2016 is a reboot remake of the very first game. It was developed and released for the PlayStation 4 as a tie-in to the motion picture of the same name, and both released roughly around the same time. This being my first playthrough in the series, I wasn't really sure what to expect. Ratchet & Clank is a third-person shooter slash platform style game. This is a game that doesn't look to do a whole bunch of different things, but the few things that it does do, it does them all well. It's safe, straightforward gameplay with a fun, family-friendly story that's visually delightful, polished from top to bottom, and very easy to pick up and play. You play as a mechanic named Ratchet who has aspirations to join the galaxy-famous Space Rangers. Through circumstance, you team up with a tiny robot named Clank, who's on the run after being dubbed a defect by his manufacturing company. You and your new partner become the unlikely heroes that team up and save the day. The game doesn't spend too much time getting the duo together, which is a good thing. For some, it might feel a little underdeveloped and rushed off the bat, but for me, I liked it. The game is built and designed around the abilities and guns you require while working together, so anytime it has the duo separated feel like weaker points in the game, outside a couple Clank-specific puzzle-type sections, which I did enjoy. I like the main villains and the writing for the most part. There's nothing too crazy here. It was paced well, and the voice acting and cutscenes moved everything along nicely. You run into some fun side characters that help you out along the way. I like the variety in the alien looks and the personalities. If anything, some of the side characters could have been fleshed out a little bit more, but for gameplay purposes, they all work pretty well overall. The look, style, and the feel of the game is great. Many of the locations have lush, bright, vibrant colors. These contrasted in a good way with the darker, more mechanical settings of some of the bases and the final destination you have to visit. It helped set tone properly at the start and seamlessly shifted it as the situations in the game changed and shifted. Just a great world to bomb around and shoot stuff in. The gameplay itself isn't anything groundbreaking or insane, but it is fun and very polished. The controls are tight and very responsive. There's a massive variety of guns to collect and upgrade, and they all function in unique enough ways that keep the gunplay fun and interesting. I was starting to get annoyed with how much I was running out of ammo at the start, but realized this was probably intentional. It forced me to cycle through the different guns and try everything out at least once. My only real ass gameplay wise would have been for a sprint button or maybe a faster base walk speed. This is a game where you have to collect resources from stuff you break and kill, and you have to be close-ish to pick it up. A little extra movement speed would have helped make this a little less annoying at times. This is slightly remedied once you get the copter ability of Clank, which allows a sort of forward dash movement option. Though limited, it helped a ton. Alongside the core shooter gameplay, there's some ship flying sequences, some grind rails to check out, and a couple planets have hoverboard competitions, which are essentially races for rewards. These sections of the game felt far less developed than the core ground shooter game mechanics, but I think the point was to help break up the action and reset the pace and excitement at certain times throughout the story. Even though these aren't super deep gameplay wise, they do add to the variety, the same as the couple sections where you're split up from your partner. The only real issue I had with the core gameplay was being able to see enemies in enemy shots at times. Between the explosions and craziness from your own guns, boxes busting, enemies blowing up into nuts and bolts to collect, there's just a lot going on during these battles, and it can get very hectic visually. Laser shots, mini missiles, and even smaller enemies just get lost in all the craziness sometimes. This kind of led me to jumping around randomly more than I would have liked, just to avoid the stuff I couldn't see instead of seeing everything and reacting to it all. One of my favorite parts of the game is when you unlock the jetpack ability. This was really fun to use, and I wish they had included it in all the levels. I would have loved to see it tied to more exploration, and it would have made backtracking for collectibles much more appealing. The other big gameplay focus is upgrading the weapons themselves. You spend the resources you find to buy upgrades from a storefront that you can access from within the levels themselves. The more you use the guns, the more level up options you unlock for them individually. I like this idea, but in practice, it really only felt like I was getting more powerful once a gun was fully leveled and fully upgraded. Maybe instead of a whole bunch of tiny upgrade nodes, they condense it into something that feels meaningful each time you spend your resources on it. There were enough different types of guns to support this. If you're gonna have any type of leveling system in a game, as you level, it needs to feel rewarding. You need to see and notice a difference for it to work properly. There's a challenge mode that's unlocked after you complete the game. This serves as a type of new game plus mode where your weapons carry over, and you'll be able to explore and access more areas of the planet from your first playthrough. A welcome mode for completionists and people that really enjoyed their first playthrough. All that being said, 3 happy potato faces out of 5, safe linear level design, neat variety of guns to keep things interesting, nothing reinventing the wheel here, but the polished gameplay, excellent visuals, and the fun characters and story made this a really enjoyable game experience. If the movement right out of the gate had been a little bit faster and the gun upgrade system tightened up just a little bit, I probably would have went with a 4 here. But for this being my first Ratchet and Clank game for a series that's been out for 21 years, overall I'm pretty happy with it. And with that, the backlog project rolls on. Thanks for watching. Be kind to yourselves and others that deserve it. We're on to the next one. So shout out to my son for making me a custom play button for hitting 1,000 subs. Thank you so much. Your kindness means a lot to me. And thank you all for supporting the channel. The links I never played a Ratchet and Clank game. That's gonna be a tough one. Ratchet and Clank. Should I look into getting ripped apart? I don't know. This is a game where you have to collect resources from stuff. You have to break stuff. Don't you know Clanky Clank? Clankerson.